This morning, I drove over to the West Shore to buy some slushy syrup. And you probably first thought is, why in the world would you be going over to the West Shore? No, you're asking, why would I be buying slushy syrup? Well, maybe a month or so ago, Father Sad and I promised at the Seven Sorrows Gala that we would throw a slushy party for whoever bid the most at the silent auction, because I own like an industrial-sized slushy machine. It's one of my claims to fame. And we're going to throw a little party for the kids later this week. And I realized I didn't actually buy the syrup. Can't throw a party if I don't have the syrup. So I went to my supplier. I drove over to the West Shore and bought the syrup, which is like right across from my alma mater. And I just kind of like felt this draw to be like, man, like I'm not always over here. And it's like the baseball field that I spent so many countless games and hours at, it's like just right down the road. Like, let me drive by and just see what's going on, go down memory lane. And as I drove past it, I saw that a game was going on. And in fact, my alma mater was playing there. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to pull in. I'm going to pull in and just watch some of the baseball game. And I was just really like almost like transported back, 13 years ago when I was playing on that field, dressed in the green and white. And I remember some of like my greatest hits, some of my greatest failures, some of like my happiest memories with some of my teammates and friends, some of which I haven't talked to in, God knows how many years. But like, even though it had been 13, 14, 15 years since those things happened, when I walked in onto that field and the bleachers, it was like I was reliving it again, as if it was really just only yesterday. And I know that many of you have had similar experiences. Maybe it is going to a particular place. It just feels like, man, I was just here yesterday. Or maybe it's a particular sound or a song that brings you back to your prom or to your wedding day or something like that. That every once in a while we have those experiences that even though the event may have happened 1, 2, 10, 50 years in the past, we relive them as if it was just yesterday. That's exactly what is going on for the disciples right here. Because if you listen closely, this miracle should sound familiar. That when Jesus called his disciples, what were they doing? They were fishermen. They were fishing out at night. They caught nothing. They were exhausted. And then this guy, Jesus, who they didn't really know at the time, said, hey, you should throw your net on the other side. You'll catch fish there. And they're like, yeah, right. What does this guy know? He's a carpenter. We're fishermen. But fine, we'll prove it to you. They throw it over, and what happens? Big catch of fish. They realize it's the Lord, and from that point on, he says, from now on, you'll be catching men. Come follow me. And they do. Well, this happens after the resurrection. Sounds pretty similar, doesn't it? They're fishing, they're back to their old way of life. Jesus has died, he's resurrected. They know that already, but they don't know what's next. And so they're just back to what they know. They're fishing. They're catching nothing. This stranger says, hey, you should throw the net on the other side. They do it, and what happens? They catch a whole boatload of fish. And that's when it triggers. Oh my gosh, it's the Lord. It's like a flashback. It's almost like they're reliving that initial call that they had from the Lord. And they run to Jesus. Well, how does this gospel end? He says, come follow me. Your mission's not done. You're not supposed to go back to your old way of life, fishing. I said that from now on you'll be catching men. You'll be spreading the gospel. And I meant it. Come follow me. But what happened in between those two events, especially with Simon Peter, is he abandoned the Lord. He denied him. You could make an argument that his sin was even worse than Judas, or at least hurt Jesus more than Judas. Judas didn't deny Jesus. In fact, that's what got him paid. He said, I know who Jesus is. I know where he's going to be. I know where you can find him, and I'll identify him for you with a kiss. Did he betray that relationship? Absolutely. But he didn't deny knowing him. Peter did. Peter denied knowing our Lord. He denied having that relationship with him. He denied having that loving relationship with our Lord. And not just once, but 3 times denied it. How much must that have wounded Jesus? How much must Peter have thought, oh my gosh, like I have failed the Lord in such an incredible way. I'm just going to go back to fishing. And yet, that's not what Jesus said. Simon, do you love me? Simon, do you love me? Simon, do you love me? 3 times he's denied Jesus. 3 times he professes his love for Jesus. 3 times Jesus says, feed my sheep, tend my lambs. Doesn't matter how many times you've betrayed me, Peter. It doesn't matter how seriously you've betrayed me, Peter. I have still chosen you. You are still my rock. I have still entrusted you with this mission. I still give you my love. I still give you my grace. Now go and fish for men. So if he says that to Peter, why would we be any different? How easy it is for us to fall into the trap of thinking, man, like, I'm not good enough. Or I've fallen a gazillion times. Jesus couldn't possibly want me. Or I've sinned so seriously, like, Jesus couldn't possibly want me. Wrong. He chose Peter, and Peter's sin was not more powerful than God's grace and God's love. What makes us think our sin? What makes us think that our number of sins is somehow more powerful than God's grace and God's love? Because it's not. Have we sinned? Absolutely. But has God still chosen you? You better believe it. There's nothing that can keep us from God's love. God has entrusted you with a mission. He's entrusted you with a purpose, just like he's entrusted Peter and the other disciples. And he's inviting us, just like the disciples, to follow him. He's entrusted them with a mission. He's entrusted us with a mission. He says to them, come have breakfast. He says to us, come dine with me. He says to them, eat some bread and some fish. He says to us, come eat my body and blood in the Eucharist. Receive my strength, receive my joy, receive my freedom, receive my power. And then go accomplish the mission that I've given to you.